We are elated to welcome you to the international webinar series of the Women's Development Cell of Dolagram College under the aegis of IQAC. The overarching theme for this webinar series, spanning over 3 days, is Women and Career in Science, Opportunities, Challenges, and the Way Ahead. I, Bhavya Pandey,
and I, Devanshi Vats,
and my fellow seniors, Devanshi Vats, welcome our audience and thank you all for gracing us with your presence this afternoon. Now, we would request Dr. Anita Garg Mangla ma'am, convener, Women's Development Cell, to kindly give the welcome address.
Thank you, Bhavya. Good afternoon to one and all present. I, Dr. Anita Garg Mangla, Assistant Professor and Convener, Women's Development Cell, Dolagram College, takes immense pleasure in welcoming our guest of honor, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi K. Gupta, our esteemed speaker of the day, Dr. Vaishali Chaudhary, Principal Ma'am, Dr. Savita Roy, Vice Principal Ma'am, Dr. Sarita Nanda, all the faculty members, esteemed guests, and dear students, on this third and final day of International Webinar Series on Women and Career in Science, Opportunities, Challenges, and Way Ahead, which started from 6th January and is culminating today, that is 8th of January 2021. Speaker for today, Dr. Chaudhary, is an alumnus from Dolagram College, Biochemistry Department, 1993-96, and is going to share her experience from a DRCN to being a data scientist at Verena Healthcare in California. As the saying says, the most successful women don't run from change, they run towards it. Dr. Chaudhary's progression in career ladder from a bench scientist to a data scientist will make you explore the strength inside you that can make you take a successful diversion at any time in your life. As the saying goes, behind every successful woman is herself, and we have a live example. Define success on your own terms, achieve it by your own rules, and build a life you are proud to live. With these words, I welcome once again Dr. Vaishali Chaudhary and all the audience, and we begin the session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Anita.
Most welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, ma'am. WDC-DRC takes immense pleasure in extending our gratitude and our regard to our guest of honor, Principal Ma'am, Vice Principal Ma'am, our esteemed speaker for the day, Convener Ma'am, all the dignitaries, faculty members, and students for joining us. Kindly accept this token of our respect and appreciation. I would like to request Dr. Anita Garg Mangla Ma'am to kindly present this virtual bouquet to our speaker for today's session, Dr. Vaishali Chaudhary Ma'am.
Thank you again, Anita.
Most welcome.
Next time, I want the flower bouquet in hand when we meet.
Sure, we are eagerly awaiting for your physical presence in our college. Let this pandemic settle down very, very soon.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to request Dr. Kusum Lata Ma'am to kindly present this virtual bouquet to Dr. Padmashri Mudgal Ma'am, Associate Professor, Biochemistry Department.
Thank you, WDC. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Bhavya.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Raman Ma'am and Isha Ma'am to kindly present the virtual bouquet to Dr. Preeti Malhotra Ma'am.
Thank you you so much, ma'am. I would now like to request our senior faculty member, Dr. Padma Shri Mutkal, ma'am, Associate Professor, Biochemistry Department, to kindly address the gathering. Am I not audible? Hello?
Yes, we heard you, Devanshi. We are waiting for Padam.
Yeah, I'm there, Anita.
We are waiting for your address now.
Okay. I didn't hear. Actually, I missed on that. Okay. Thank you, WDC. Thank you, Anita, for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity to share my views. I like to start from the day one when Anu said, "Wish we had some men's perspective on the issue." And since we
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Dr. Mutkal, you kindly unmute yourself, please.
So I start over, right over, all over again. Okay. Thank you, WDC, for giving me this opportunity to share my views. I like to start from the day one when Anu said, I wish we had some men's perspective on the issue. So I thought it pertinent on the last day of the series of talks that why not give a few, insight on their perspective from my point of view. I think women are highly privileged. We can make a choice. We can make a choice whether we want to have a career, whether we want to pursue our hobbies, or whether we just don't want to do. We just, have a homemaker, nurture children, have a family, raise a family, or, spend some time with yourself and later on start a family or whatever. These choices are there. If you think of men's perspective, it's the society's, commitments or pressures, or I'll say stereotyping, force sometimes men not to have that choice. They are supposed to be the providers, right? So many a times they can't follow their passion. We have this choice. So I think everybody, whether it's male, female, everybody have their challenges in life, and it's the what choices we make in life that's important. And we should have the belief of sticking to our choices, following it, and making a path for ourselves. Taking an example, my example, I'll say that, okay, there are periods in our life, it's okay that if you want to take a break, you want to raise a family and have a career. We are not defined but just by our career alone. We have friends, activities, career, both equally a part of our being, right? So it's just I started maybe decades back. I started my career, but it's only a few years back that I started to do some research and set up a lab, to do what I wanted, maybe because of my family commitments or whatever. And I also got down to write a book, which was later published by Springer. So it's the choices that you have and choices that you make, but then we should have the perseverance and perseverance to follow what we really want to have. So that choice is always there with us. So it's never too late. Taking, I think, Vaishali's, so because Vaishali was a speaker today, so I thought it's never too late to do what you want and to pursue what you want. And as I, just I think 5-6 years back, I really wanted to do some research. So I started, it's never too late in life to start doing what you really want, So I'll say to all the girls that, choose, make right choices and follow it up with have the confidence to take up all challenges in life. Challenges are there everywhere, whether it's males, females, or irrespective of the gender. You have to face challenges in life, and it's just that the commitment that you make to yourself that you want to do it, and so pursue it. So I think with those words, I will not come between you and Vaishali. Okay, thank you, Anita, for giving me this opportunity.
Pleasure, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your words were really encouraging. Now, I would like to request Dr. Sunita Joshi, retired Associate Professor, Biochemistry Department, to share her views with us. I can see ma'am here, Dr. Sunita Joshi ma'am.
I'm not visible, I think. 1 minute. Is it okay? No, no, I think I am. Am I visible now?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
Nidhi.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Yeah? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you very well.
Okay, okay,
So nice
okay.
to see you, and Sunita. More
Oh, nice.
whiter hair.
Yeah, it is always like that. It started maybe 30 years back, even more. They'll keep growing, and you're lazy now. Yeah. Okay, thank you for thank you for organizing this webinar series and allowing me to share my views on women development and empowerment. Maybe surprising, but yes. Uh, See, I've enjoyed listening to all speakers and do agree with them on many aspects. But I also have few other things to add on. Maybe debatable, may not be agreeable now. But according to me, what I wish to say is that we have to move out of the idea of women empowerment. The prefix has to go to empowerment of everyone, irrespective of gender. Because for me, inherently, this term has elements of gender bias. The balance must shift from one gender to another. That's not what we mean by empowerment. Gender bias has led to, and we have learned from that, to unnatural laws and biases. And barriers have been placed before one or the other. So this requires what? Someday, sometime, or maybe today, we leave behind the struggles of a suppressed women, which happened centuries back, and move forward in the direction that we wish to take. Take in a balance. We wish to have a society, or have a society which is balanced, providing equal opportunities and even unbiased laws. Like in one of the lectures earlier, we heard that women in STEM, statistics are available on that. Why do we collect such statistics bothers me. The statistics will not be based on how many women are in STEM or any other area, but rather on how many people choose to be in STEM. We have the right to choose, isn't it? So empowerment is to know yourself, and like yesterday's know repeatedly. Keep changing. And to me, it does not matter, because we have learned from our families, from other relatives or people around us all these years. It doesn't matter we are educated or not. It's not a prerequisite condition. Because I end by saying one famous line which I have heard so many times but not read. It was when at the time when we are in the colonial, we ruled by the British. Once it was said by the British that we have given you peace, we have given you freedom. And Pandit Nehru said or replied, it is the freedom of the cage and the peace of the grave. Trying to point out very clearly, we are born to free. We all have independent ideas, and thereby do not suppress anybody to exercise one's right. Thank you. I am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Without any further ado, we would like to extend our warmest welcome to our esteemed guest for day 3 of our international webinar series, Dr. Vaishali Chaudhary, who is a graduate of Daulat Ram College Biochemistry Department. After her PhD from AIMS, she was selected as one of the 20 candidates that represented India in the 53rd meet of Nobel laureates in Lindau, Germany. After 15 years working as a life scientist, which included stints of postdoc at Stanford University and multiple US-based biopharma startups, she decided to focus more on the data aspects of life science. She is currently a data scientist working with Verena Health, which is a health databases to accelerate healthcare research. Today, she is going to tell her story of transition from life science to data science, and why data science stands to play an important role in future, and why students in today's times should learn programming to remain active and competitive. Kindly enlighten us with your words, ma'am. I would also request the participants who have joined us through Google Meet and YouTube to type in their queries and questions to Dr. Chaudhary's address, and they will be taken up by ma'am after her address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Devanshi. Is it okay if I present? Yeah, I am allowed to present my screen. And let me know if this works.
Sure, ma'am.
You guys can see my presentation?
Yes, ma'am, we can see it. We can see it.
Great. So it is like I've been also hearing the past 2 days, the past two speakers, and I can say that it is so overwhelming. And what Santwana, who was my batchmate and speaker for yesterday, said, I mean, when we guys who have studied in DRC, we are speaking, it just feels like life has come like a full circle, like Joshi ma'am, Mutkal ma'am, who have taught us and we have heard them. We have the opportunity just to even present to them our career in like a talk. So that is really overwhelming and emotional for us. So thank you, DRC, Anita, and this platform for giving us that opportunity. And before I begin, I should say Happy New Year. Like we are still in the first week, so it's official to say Happy New Year. And we should put in our resumes that we survived 2020. Like, I think it is something worth mentioning for future generations that we did survive 2020. However, I think 2020, has taught us also a lot of things. And one of the big things that it taught us, like, what I'm presenting, perhaps if COVID had not happened, we wouldn't have perhaps done this virtually, because we always thought you need to be physically present at some time. I mean, somewhere to give a speech. I've talked with DRC students, but it has just been those DRC students. And right now, I don't know the number, but I believe that people are joining globally. I'm sitting here in California, and it is 1 a.m. here, and I'm talking to you all, girls and guys, whoever has joined. So this is incredible. The digital transformation that was forced because of the COVID situation, I feel is incredible. And this opportunity also, I feel, has been such a boon, because I have asked my parents and in-laws to join, and this is the first time like they would be hearing me speak as a scientist and, my scientific talk, rather than all the complaints and the jargon that I speak in day to day, and they'd never seen this side of me. So many years of my life, but this is my first opportunity of speaking to them, like from a career perspective. As I just said, it's 1 a.m. here. So there is this kind of fair warning. If you hear a snore, you can make some noise, because the speaker might have slept off also. I was so interested in the talks in the past 2 days that I have been awake till 3 a.m. So this is my third day of being awake till that time. So that's one thing. The other is like more a request. I would like whoever speaks, please don't call me ma'am. I know when we grow up, we all address our seniors as ma'am. I call Mudgal ma'am, and because that's how we have been calling them always, and that's what comes to our tongue right now. But I would just say, growing up here, hearing ma'am, I'll break into hives, right? So just Vaishali is fine, for all perspective. Okay, so coming to the first slide, and you see this road and this journey. And when I was creating this presentation, it was also a reflection back on my own journey. Where did I start, and how did I make my paths, and wow, okay, I did this and did that. And I also asked myself, why should people come and even hear this talk? What greatness did I bring? I was a scientist. Okay, there are so many scientists. There are also so many data scientists. But then, the answer came from within. We all are made of stories, and that story allows us to pave a path for ourselves. And maybe somebody gets inspired to change, has been thinking of a career change, and my story is about a career change that I'm going to tell you about. And that inspires somebody to do that. But it might not be that case always. Somebody else's story might be about, let's say, healthy eating. They hear their friend eating healthily and lose weight and say, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. It's always about getting inspired. So I think this is also a point yesterday's speaker Santwana brought up, always be ready to share your story, because you may inspire someone, and also be ready to listen to, other person's story, because you could be inspired also by that person's story. So since this is my journey from being, so I thought I'll make it official. And the second slide is about me. I didn't know, like, that they would say 1993 to 96. So you already know which batch I was on. But I wanted to say I'm from the Gen X. And what is the Wikipedia definition of Gen X? Because this is so confusing. I call my daughter, you Gen X's are not, and she'll be like, Mom, I am not a Gen X. So Gen X I brought out is people from 1965 to 80, and that allows you to date the speaker. Okay, she might be in that range. I'm also the only child of my parents, and this is a picture, very ceremonial picture, those that was taken in those times when the parent used to take you to the studio with a, like, so these are my parents. I was born in Orissa, but I have always been in Delhi. So I'm a Delhiite to the core, even though I've lived like in Calcutta and now in San Francisco for so many years. I just consider myself a Delhiite. My dad was working in Steel Authority for like all the time that I knew. He never changed careers. And my mom is a housemaker. It's also important to mention that I'm a product of Springdale School, Dhalakua. I was there for 14 years of my life. And why I mention this is, if I'm mentioning my entire career, I mean, I believe the school sets like the ground, like, you dig the ground and set up the foundation of a building. I believe the school is that. So I think I wanted to mention my school. So think about it. Okay, school is mentioned, and I move on to the next phase. This is Act 2 of my life. So graduating from school, I always actually wanted to become a medical doctor. And why is that? Is because I was a big fan of Robin Cook fiction, and I had almost read all his books. And I thought that doctors, they save the world. Like, there's Contagion, where there is a huge mutation of viruses spreading throughout the world, very real and true to today's time. I mean, but I thought only doctors kind of can do that and, save the world and create vaccines and protect if this mutation virus. So I need to be a medical doctor. And that was like my sole focus. But then, as whatever, I was perhaps not diligent that way enough in my entrance preparation or whatever, I did not secure a medical seat in the first try. So what do you do when that happens? There are usually, I believe, 2 courses that people take. The first is they give a drop year and prepare again diligently. And the second is they join a course, they join a degree or something, which is very similar to medical, and that allows them to prepare. So I chose perhaps the second route and joined Daulatram Biochemistry. And it was here that I realized, that realization came that everything does not need to be like a medical doctor to do all the things that I want to do. Like, being a scientist also allows you to do the same thing. But that was through the 3 years of courses. So come the next year when I was supposed to give medical, I kind of almost had decided that perhaps medical degree can now take a backseat because my objectives and goals in life are something else, and I can take a scientist route for it. Also, throughout my presentation, you will see that I bring my personal pictures, which are very dear to me, and this is to bring like a personal touch to this presentation, because it's about my journey. It's about my teams and people who supported me. So what you see here is our farewell picture from Daulatram College. And on your very left is Anita, whom you all know. She is sitting there. And on your very right is Santwana, who was yesterday's speaker. And I'm there for a third from the right. So we are a very close-knit batch. And also something that Santwana mentioned yesterday, which kind of stuck, that, friendships and team friendships is very important at every stage of your life, because your friends are the ones also who support you. So many of the people that you see in today's picture, we are still in contact and we support each other to various phases. We have been to each other's families and met, have seen the kids grow up. So that has been there. Also, throughout my presentation, you will see that I will have many life advices or career advices, or at least how I took the approach. I don't know how different it is now 30 years later. Maybe so many things have changed. But when we were growing up, nobody told us that this is the correct way to do. And moreover, for me, my parents were not like from a bio background or telling me that this is, we saw that perhaps our senior did this, and people do that, and look at the newspapers. There was not so much Google or anything media to tell you. So here I also wanted to tell you the life routes and maybe career advices or Vaishali's life advices that will come through this presentation. So think about it. This is I graduating college, and what's the next step? We give biotechnology entrance exam. And those times I've just listed all the entrance exams I gave because we were just combing through newspapers of which one comes in. So I don't know who is it important for now, but these were primarily few of the top entrance exams held at those times. And I qualified through all of them, but I decided to go to this JNU combined biotechnology entrance exam. It kind of opens the door to enter like any college in India. I believe you give your like top 3 choices. And I chose Madurai Kamraj University, which was at that time one of the most esteemed biotechnology courses. I had heard a previous year senior who was very good student also had gone there. So that means it had a good school and all that. So that way. And here also you see, this is my class. We are most of us are still in touch. And this is the entrance gate of Madurai Kamraj. So my next phase of career and 2 years got spent in Madurai. And what is also important here to mention is that this was the first time, I, the only child, and I'd always stayed with my parents, moved out of home. So the first couple of months that Santana was also saying, it's very difficult sometimes for a person who has always stayed home and then moves out to a hostel and stays away from home. But here is something I want to give as a kind of career advice and Vaishali's life advice, which is that I believe that if you have the opportunity, every individual should stay away from home for at least 2 years, 3 years, whatever your course allows, because that helps you to develop as an individual. Your personality grows, you become self-sustainable, you know how to kind of maneuver ways if you're in a difficult situation. So even if you're pampered and you think that it's very difficult to stay away from home, take that decision of staying away from home if it's presented to you. So 2 years of Madurai, and after master's, there are 2 routes that people usually take if they want to do their PhDs. The class that you see here, I would say 90% of the student gave their GRE SAT and moved to United States to do their PhD. Some did it in Europe. And the difference, I don't know for people who know or don't know that, US takes a little bit more time when you're doing your PhD because it has a coursework of 1.5 years and all. And Europe is a little bit faster in terms of the number of years you take to. So it's just like an advice I just want to, because there's so many youngsters also listening to this presentation who might, be considering doing a master's in some school and then going abroad to do a PhD. But I chose to stay back in India because 2 years was okay enough for me. I need to go back home. I was missing my parents. So I gave the CSIR NET exam. And CSIR NET is like an entrance exam which allows you to self-sustain your scholarship if you decide to join an institute. You are not dependent on the PI to give you a grant and write a grant for you. Say, I'll bring in my own money, which is being sponsored by CSIR or by DBT. So anybody thinking of staying back in India and doing a PhD, this is one of the entrance exams that you need to prepare for. So I qualified that and I landed a PhD in All India Institute of Medical Science. And that is also a very serendipitous kind of how it happened in All India Institute. I didn't think about that I would be doing a PhD there. I more actually went to Delhi University South Campus where I had done my summer internship and I was waiting to talk with the PI under whom I had done. but it so happened he was away for a conference. And the senior with whom I had worked said that, I'm going to AIMS. You want to just come over there and talk to faculty? I was like, yeah, why not? I have nothing else right now better to do. And I took a ride with this person to AIMS. And it so happened that the lab this person went to talk with his friend, I talked with the PI in that lab, and that was Professor S.K. Panda in Department of Pathology. We talked. I told him I have a CSIR and, I'm looking for a PhD position. He mentioned that he does have a position in his lab and an opportunity to do research. I mean, it was like a match of the right thing. And then somewhere in my mind, just because, that medical degree was always like, I always wanted, the fact that it was AIMS also played a very important role. Like, okay, I will do my PhD at AIMS, and it was in virology. So the Robin Cook also played a very important role, because all Robin Cooks are about viruses getting mutated. So if PhD is in virology and in AIMS, what better, opportunity can be there than that? So PhD took around 4.5-ish years. And during that time, I got this opportunity to present my PhD work, which was on hepatitis B mutants. And I will probably talk that in the next slide. But anyways, the PhD research that I did allowed me to go to US and present my work in this symposium called AASLD, which is like the largest conference in liver diseases. I also was chosen on the 53rd meet of Nobel laureates, and here comes a Vaishali career bite. So this meet of Nobel laureates is every year, I believe. DBT has this application for sending scientists to this meeting of Nobel laureates that happen. And it's like biology 1 year, students who are doing research in biology, students who are doing research physics next year, and students who are doing chemistry the 3rd year, and then a combined physics, bio, and chemistry in the 4th year. So every year, different streams are selected, and I think around 15 or 20 students are selected. And in 2002, I believe, was the first time biology was selected. Like usually they were selecting just physics students to kind of send them to Lindau. And it was sometimes in life, you are just in the right place at the right time. You apply to the right things and it just matches. So I had applied. There was a synopsis on what research you are doing. It just clicked, and I got chosen for this incredible opportunity, which I think is one of my favorite. If I ever get to write a book, will be an experience in my life where you meet Nobel laureates, as whoever are the Nobel laureates in biology. They come, they present, you socialize with them, you have dinners with them and talk with their families, talk with them as if, it's a very close intermingling. And this all is actually sponsored by DBT and DFG. You don't spend a single dime or dollar or whatever euro for that. It's an incredible opportunity for people who get selected, and I would really encourage people, if they get into that stream, to keep their eyes open for this opportunity. So sorry, I'm going back. So, okay, and 4.5 years, I have my PhD in hand. And this, as I said, my PhD was in prevalence of hepatitis B virus mutants. And I think now with the COVID, virology has kind of become also a centerpiece in the talking, and how mutants arise, because now we are also hearing of COVID mutants. So my PhD was actually looking at hepatitis B, which is actually when you donate blood, for example, you will be tested, your blood will be tested for hepatitis B, and if it's positive, it will be discarded because you don't want to give anybody an infected blood. However, my PhD was on samples which actually carry the hepatitis B virus but will not show up in test. So you can think how dangerous those samples will be. They will show up as negative even though they carry the virus. Or patients who are actually having our hepatitis B, but when they show up with jaundice or chronic as they call hepatitis, they will be tested negative. So they will be given all sorts of medication, but not the hepatitis B virus medication. So my PhD was to answer why we are seeing those mutants, and also if we can find a surrogate marker which can perhaps not test for the surface antigen, but find something else they can test, so that we can say that, okay, these people are hepatitis B virus positive. And that test that I developed, I think it's still perhaps being used in All India Institute of Medical Banks. And end of PhD, and then comes like the next chapter of life. And I met my husband. We got married at that stage, and I would say that is like this I'll call like the India phase of my career. Okay. Act 2 of my life. My husband, he was based in Sunnyvale, California. So I moved bases from India then to California. And one thing also important as a career advice is that if you are doing something in between, thankfully I had finished my PhD, I had submitted and then got married. Like it was a conscious decision to finish my PhD and then get married. And sometimes you are not in a position, but if you have a choice, one of my career advices is finish something and then go on to the next stage. Like since I had finished my PhD, I was at the liberty of moving to Sunnyvale, California. I have friends who have done PhD for so many years and then just got married in between, and they had to leave their PhD because after moving, they just did not have the bandwidth to carry on with the PhD. So yeah, one of the career advices I have is, if you have a choice, I'm not saying everybody is lucky to have a choice. If you have a choice, finish something and then start on the next one. Anyways, coming back to Sunnyvale, California, I am moved. And then starts the academia phase of my career. So California is blessed with one of the most incredible universities in the world. There is Stanford, there is UCSF, there's Berkeley. It's all at driving distances, more or less, if you are living in Bay Area. And here I'll also mention that, because there might be girls over here, let's say, who move over there. When you move to US, sometimes your visa status sometimes dictates if you can work in US or not. And many times, like if you move as a dependent, which is called an H-4 visa, you're not allowed to work. So I had moved on an H-4 visa, and it did not kind of allow me legally to work in US. But this is where I wanted to kind of tell like the crowd over here that, when sometimes something doesn't allow you, do what allows you. So I kind of volunteered at Stanford University just to start making those connections. And, like you don't have to pay me, so I'm not legally working, but if I volunteer in lab, I'm getting to be in that field. So I joined Stanford University then as a visiting researcher in Department of Dermatology. And why visiting researcher is because when you are doing PhD from India, there is this gap where you submit your thesis and you wait for 6 months to a year to defend your thesis. So you don't have like a PhD degree in hand to call yourself that, okay, this is my degree to show. So that's why the title, rather than being a postdoctorate, was visiting researcher. But I got this incredible opportunity to work with the person who started the Department of Dermatology and worked with him for 1.5 years. After 1.5 years, I obviously had my PhD degree in hand. I decided to focus on my postdoctorate in a field that was more in tune with my my PhD, and I worked as a postdoctorate in herpes viruses in Department of Microbiology and Immunology, and had the seminal paper in Journal of Virology. Okay, so this was the academia phase, I would say. And then I was blessed with my daughter, and that was like this next phase in every woman's life, when you become a mother. And also sometimes in life, sometimes it's good to give a pause. I was working for then 4 years as a postdoc or in research. And my daughter, she had a little bit of medical issues when she was born. So I decided to take a break that year, focus on her. My family was with me, spend a little bit of family time. So this was like my pause year for 1 year when my daughter was born. Okay, so 1 year, my daughter is a year old. I am getting itchy to go back to college, not college, but to work. I decided to start, okay, I'm done with academia, and I kind of really felt that I wanted to more explore the industry at that stage. So I started applying, and I'm not sure how many of you recognize from the Nobel laureates that were announced this year, but the person in the middle, his name is Michael Houghton. Actually, all three of them got the Nobel Prize this year for discovering HCV virus. And I was incredibly fortunate enough to be hired by Michael Houghton for a startup that he had joined called Epiphany Biosciences. And as I said something before, like sometimes in life, you are just at the right place at the right time. And I just sent that application. He saw that my background was in virology and in herpes viruses, both the fields that this small startup had started working on and had a clinical trial on. So it all kind of gelled together. And also when I was preparing this presentation, I was reminded, like, in life sometimes how the connections you make, like, I did not do virology or herpes viruses knowing that one day I'll be working with, like, get this opportunity of working with Michael. But sometimes when you look back at life, you sometimes feel that it's all kind of predestined, or, your life is almost set up for you and you just fall into a place. So anyways, that was like my incredible, like, luck, I would say, to work with this guy who was a very humble scientist and a great mentor. Worked at Epiphany Biosciences, but he moved on, like, after 2 years in a professorship role in University of Alberta, and I continued the work over there. But this was a startup, and they ran into some monetary issues, and I was laid off from work. So when you're laid off from work in US, one of also the good things I would say about being a citizen, or a green card holder over here, is that the government gives you an opportunity to kind of hone your skills or improve your education. So when I was working at Epiphany Biosciences, I was working on clinical trials, and that was the first time I was like getting exposed to a huge set of data. And I mean, I had worked on my PhD, but that was like an incredible amount of data with statistics and, finding out whether this result is significant and whether this group shows significant results versus placebo. And I realized that I really need to have a deeper understanding. So when this layoff happened and I was given this opportunity of continuing furthering my education, I chose that to learn more about the regulatory side of things, thinking that that will hone my skills on the laws that kind of govern the drug development world. And then my goal was to kind of look at jobs that are more regulatory. But what I realized is that when I looked for entry-level regulatory jobs, I was too overqualified. Like, as soon as people hear PhD, they think that you should go at that, like, senior level, but you have just started on a regulatory career. So it kind of was a mismatch in terms of the position that the company wanted me to hire, but the level of experience that I was bringing in as a regulatory specialist. However, interviewing in that process, I kind of met my second mentor, I would say, who was changing jobs. And when he was changing jobs, he said, I have this opportunity in Thermo Fisher. Can you work like as a consultant over there in the compliance field? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's still tied to regulatory, and I would learn from Thermo Fisher as a company and just get, like, exposure to working in a big pharma. And it was during those times, like when I was working at Thermo Fisher, that one day this flyer from University of San Francisco Health Informatics Department, like, in US, you get tons of flyers from different places, and most of the time they kind of land up in the trash because you never even, but somehow this flyer stuck over our dining table, moved from one place to the other. And at the same time, when I was working at Thermo Fisher, I was having this doubts that I was working in compliance of electrical devices. Apart from me, everybody else was an electrical engineer. And if I have to rise in that career, like, I perhaps need to be an electrical engineer to understand, like, electrical the complications that go behind it. So I will always be like in a analyst, compliance analyst kind of position. The career growth will not be where I really want myself to see. And it was at that stage of doubtfulness that this flyer landed at our house. And also being in Silicon Valley, you're always talking like programming. Like my husband's field is programming, and our friend circle is programming. So you're always talking some kind of technology. And data science is a word that was cropping up at that time, very like here and there. And data science is this new field. However, I have to say that I was very hesitant at that time to get into that field, because I did not see myself programming or writing complex programs. I was like, no. However, like I wrote to this program, whoever was the dean or something, and that person kind of convinced me that this program was actually meant as a bridge between the people who have done biology, who have a biology background, and the people who are actually computer scientists. So the biologists would understand the technology, the technical aspects of how to, let's say, program or compute, and the computer science, the people with computer background would understand healthcare side, because there was this huge niche at that time when I joined this degree of finding people who understand both language. So think of it like, in India, when we say you have to either take engineering or take biology, there are very few people who can have the option of choosing both at the same time and understand what a gene is, and also understand, let's say, what our complex databases is. But if there are people whom we train who understand both the languages, we are nurturing this new breed of engineers or technologists who can speak the health language, who can also program. And that is a very important in today's world, because much of our data is now becoming digital. I don't know about India, but in the United States, there's this huge push of making everyone's health records digital. So when you go to a doctor, you see them furiously typing on their computers, because they no longer take paper notes. It's all digital. Your entire health journey is digital, which means we are creating massive amounts of data to answer questions. Which I'll come to later, but answering massive amount, but creating that health data also requires that you understand, you understand what the gene implication is. If this, let's say, disease, if a person has high BP and has BMI, sorry, did anybody have a question? Anyway, so what I'm saying is they should understand the health aspect of it and also the programming aspect of it. But at that stage, I was like a mom, and I was unsure of whether I could balance both. Doing a master's after at this stage, I was also still working at Thermo Fisher. So it was a huge balancing game. And this is where, as Santwana was saying, that sometimes in life, when you are faced with difficult challenges, you need your team, you need your support system. And my husband was this huge support system at that time, who said that, I am there to take care of things, that while you kind of balance your work, my child was not that baby, she was 7 years old at that time. But that's still like, you are a wife, you're a mother, there are so many things to manage at home. At the end of the day, even if you're ordering in food from outside, you need to know that you need to order that food. So there's a lot of balance and pressures. And my husband was a huge support system in pushing me towards that, yes, you can do it, and I'm there to take care of things. And that paid off, that grit, determination, focus, or whatever you would say, and with the help of my entire family. And 2 years down the line, I was finally able to wear this black gown. Like, I had done my graduation, I had done my master's, but I'd never worn a gown till then, because I had moved on from that stage or in a different country or wherever. So I'd never attended the convocation ceremonies in anywhere in India. So I was just happy that I can wear this gown finally at some stage in my life. Okay, so that was like a little bit about me. But as a person who has done a career transition, I also get this question from many people, like, what is data science? So I wanted to spend a little bit of my time, since it was like when Anita actually told me you have to speak for 1 hour, I was like, what do I even speak for an hour? Like, I have to literally start from my pre-K admissions like interview to make this stretch for an hour or 15 minutes. So I wanted to educate the audience of what do they think is data science and who is a data scientist, because like me, there are many people who just thinks that data science is perhaps just programming. And if I am a biologist or a healthcare person, I mean, and I don't want to do programming. So I wanted to kind of bust that myth. Data science is a very intermingling field of a couple of things. The first is a domain knowledge. So when I said domain knowledge, like my entire, what should I say, foundation was of a life scientist and as a healthcare person. Like data sciences was a 2-year degree that I did, not that like, I have made my career in that. So my domain entire premise was healthcare and life sciences. What this master's degree allowed me was to learn the programming part of it. So think of programming as a tool. I mean, if you have a huge room and you have these 3, what should I say, weapons with you, which is a broom and a hand vacuum and a Roomba, and you are told to clean the room in like 20 minutes in the most efficient manner, whatever, doesn't matter what you use. Nobody is saying that if you use a broom, that's better. And so if a person uses Roomba, which is a tool, and just programs and is free to do something else, isn't that like the most efficient way? So in today's world, if a person wants to become a data scientist, it's not that that person needs to be core programmer. That person just needs to know programming well enough to use it as a tool, so that they can know what job to do in their, in that their domain space. And that domain space could be anything. Like nowadays, even lawyers are becoming data scientists because it is like their domain. And I'll go over like what data science is as an example in a couple of slides. But it's about having a domain space, whether it's biology, chemistry, physics, anything. That is your domain space. Learn some bit of programming as I'm saying, and then have also a basic understanding of maths and statistics. So here, maths and statistics, again, you don't have to be a core mathematician over here, but you should know, like, think of it like there's a web application, for example, which does addition, subtraction, multiplication, whatever. But if you are said that 2 fruits are given to you and 2 more are given, whether do you need to multiply or do you need to divide, you should have that understanding of what application to use. Same way in data science, you should have the maths understanding and theoretical knowledge of what to apply, whether it's logistic regression, whether it's linear regression, or whether it's any other kind of modeling. So that much maths knowledge you should have. You don't need to be an expert in maths, or you don't need to be an expert in computer programming. So that kind was the message I wanted to drive through with that slide. So data science at the end is like an interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods to kind of look at patterns. And I wanted to also make all of you a little bit of data scientists and just tell you what job we do actually. So think of it as there is a bouquet of flowers, right? All you do not know what flowers are there, but all you see there are purple flowers in that bouquet, and you're given this job of separating the flowers into the species that you can think there are, and whoever does it correctly, wins a prize or whatever. So how will you do that? You have no knowledge about this flower. How many to see the patterns the flowers kind of group into if I start separating each flower separately? So each species will obviously have similar characteristics, right? Like all dogs, for example, look similar, all cats will look similar, all human. So we all are different species, but how do we, if we see a picture, how do our eyes recognize that this is a dog or a cat? Because each one of them has separate distinct features. In the same way, the purple flowers, if I am separating from a basket, will have each different features, and that's in data science term we call a feature or an attribute of the flower. So think of it, I'm doing this exercise, I've been asked to separate the flowers. I will start measuring, let's say, the petal width or the sepal width, because these are attributes, the color of the flower, the color of the leaves, and start creating something called a database, and start noting that first flower, this is the length, sepal width is this much, and I start noting down like the measurements of the flower, and put this all in one, like, as we say, in a spreadsheet, in a database. In data science terms, this is called as a data set. And then I run a model. Now that's where your programming knowledge kind of comes in at this stage, and why you need to know that programming a little bit, at which model to run, what would be the best model that will help me in the prediction. So all these dots are, think of it as are flowers, and I plot them, and I ask that how many groups do you think should be the optimum number to classify them. And this is a representation of something called an elbow plot, where the arm of the elbow bends, tells you that perhaps 3 is like the optimum group that you should try to bucket them in. I mean, you can also try 2, you can also try 4, but just something around 2, and not something like 8 or 9, because here the curve is totally flat. So I go back to my model and say that I want to label it in 3 groups, and each group should have a different color. So when I do that, I do see that the flowers in this case separate into clusters which are actually distinct. Like, you don't see a purple over here, you don't see a blue over here. So being a data scientist, I make this prediction that, perhaps there are 3 different species of this flower called iris. And after making your predictions, you something called validate it. You go back to literature and say that, now can I open the answer book and see actually how many species there are. And I do find that there are 3 species of iris. Now this validation could also be wrong. Like, I go and find that there are 5 species. So I need to go back and recheck, where did I go wrong in this? Maybe the elbow plot or the method, the statistical method or the scientific method that I used was wrong, and I need to use something else to predict that how many groups should be there. So it's a little bit of iteration between the results you give, you see the ground truth back, and you go back and change your model or tune it to see that what makes the right predictions. But you get the flavor. At the end, data science is about finding out patterns in a data, whether it is healthcare data or any sort of data. Like, I'm sure all of you, given the COVID situation, have watched Netflix. And when you watch Netflix or any such platform, when you see a couple of movies, you start getting recommendations, right? That if you like crime thriller, maybe you should watch this movie. So what is Netflix doing at the end of the day? It's taking this entire, the data set of people who watch those kinds of movies, what attributes do they have, and then make predictions. If this person likes this movie, maybe since the other person liked another movie of the similar type, this person will also like us. So, that's how they increase their viewership. So almost now every company is applying data science as its background to make these predictions. Like Amazon or anything, when you buy something and you say that you kind of see below that people who have bought this also like these other things. What are they doing? They are looking at their customer database and see that whoever, for example, bought let's say a mop, also bought this piece of cloth for dusting, right? I mean, that has been, because that's a similar thing that every time somebody buys, so people make those suggestions. At the end of it's those predictions. So in a data scientist life cycle, what you do is you first ask a question, like, what problem do I want to solve? So as, for example, as a healthcare person, I ask that, let's say I have everybody's healthcare data, who will go on to develop cancer? Like, or if I have people who have asthma, who will develop chronic asthma? And then I kind of show the model that, okay, people with 45 age, if they have a pulmonary disease and they have breathing problems and their heart rate is so and so, tend to have asthma. And when your model sees that 1 million cases of a similar pattern, and then you give it like a new data, it's able to predict that, okay, this person is more likely to have asthma develop in a couple of years because the pattern shows that. So it's like, first ask the question that what problem should you be solving? And then depending on that question, you start collecting the data. So think of it, if I'm the same, that the cancer problem, if I'm trying to answer who will go on to develop cancer, and I collect their sleep cycle, it might not be the correct data to collect. So once you ask your question, the next step is to collect the correct data that will help you to answer that question. The third step is that algorithm phase, like what is the right model or what is the right statistical method to apply that will help you make that prediction. Once you make that prediction, you evaluate whether it was correct or not. Like, did you get a correct answer based on the ground truths? If not, how do you tune your model to make it give correct predictions? What are the parameters you need to change? Or, there are so many things that need to be tuned. So that's where also your programming skills come in. And then you present your results to whoever, and you also then deploy the model. So as I was saying, Amazon, Netflix, when they're making those predictions, somewhere their model is deployed that when they get a new data, they are going to say that, okay, this person will like this movie because the model has been deployed to say that, similar people like such kind of movies. So that was like my brief, I don't know how many, 15 minutes primer on what Data Science 101 was. I am in healthcare, so kind of wanted to bring the focus back into how is data science important in healthcare. And as we saw, like in the COVID world, because that's the most pertinent example that the entire world is going through. How did they quickly develop this kind of a vaccine to know? Because developing a vaccine takes quite a few years. How have these big pharmas been able to develop that this is the epitope to develop for a vaccine candidate? So it is also, I feel that somewhere data science has come into play, that these are the interactions that are the most fruitful, where let's say antibody and the antigen binding is like, the is most fruitful, or it's most tight. So they have used previous data from different other viral bindings or different protein interactions to make those predictions. And this is not just in drug discovery. We are collecting, like, the whole human genome is being sequenced. So using that genomic data, when you see a disease pattern, who are the similar people who can, let's say, get any kind of breast cancer or any kind of other disease with those. So you have genomic data from millions of people. So that's where, that's why this niche space needs to be created, that people who understand the healthcare field, understand life sciences, but can also do programming at the same time. Because it's not just enough that you're a computer scientist. You will then do good in programming, but you won't understand how to make sense of your data when you see two proteins interacting, because you won't have that biological knowledge to interpret that this means that these proteins are well interacting versus something else that might not be interacting well. There is also in medical imaging, for example, data science is playing a role. Google, if you have heard of DeepMind, what they are doing is they're capturing eye images of millions of patients they already have or access to. And they are saying that, let's say people who develop cataract, when they develop cataract, the eye starts looking in a certain way. So if you train your model by showing a large amount of examples of all people who developed cataract because their eye image showed turned up like this, Then when you give a new data, the model can predict for you, yeah, this is a probable candidate for a person, he might develop cataract or retinopathy or whatever the eye disease is. So so it's playing a huge important role in healthcare. So that was like, my data science kind of primer. And I wanted to bring back the focus on me now, because again, it's my journey. So my first job as a data scientist was with a startup called Alpiado. And I would also, this is again the career advice. When you start your career, being with a startup is one of, I would say, a very rewarding experience, because a startup gives you that flexibility of exploring a lot. Like they rely on you a lot because they are a small group. That's why they are a startup. They might not pay you that well, but you can always build up on the salary. The most important thing in life is to first gather that experience. Like if I am experienced in doing n number of things, I can then think about a next jump where I know what I really want, because I've experienced, okay, doing the X number of things. So my first startup as first job as a data scientist was with this startup called Albiado, who allowed me to kind of give presentations in different pharmas and allowed me to do a plethora, not just like healthcare data science, but even like supply chain predictions, like how much inventory or stock you should have in your storage room, so that you can sell appropriately. Like you do not want to store a lot of things in the storage because you don't have space, and so your storage of like commodities should be balanced between what you sell. So anyways, there was a lot of projects. And just as an advice, your first job, if you want to really learn, should be in a startup. And then I moved on to big pharma, because I wanted to learn the drug discovery world and like how big pharma operates, and they're kind of where to lay the opportunities. So I worked with Roche and Genentech and then AstraZeneca. And currently I feel that I am in my dream role with this company called Virana Health, which is like a mid-sized startup. And what they do is we are collecting data from different medical sources, whether it is, pharma data, which is when people go to doctor, they have electronic health records, as I was saying. We collect people's entire history. And then we kind of help people find, for example, if there's a clinical trial, where are the right patients who will be suitable for the clinical trial? Or like some other questions, like which are the right centers to hold clinical trial? Because every center might not be recruiting at the same rate. So which are the high recruiting centers? Anyways, so you get the gist of if you are collecting a very large plethora or large diversity of healthcare information, you can answer a variety of questions. And that's what kind of is very exciting about my job. And that kind of brings me to the end of my presentation. And I wanted to end it with my family picture, because they are like my support system, my backbone, who have always encouraged me, and my team. So my husband, my daughter, and our one dog, who we adopted this year and is right now occupying the center of our lives with the attention he demands. And I also at the end wanted to just highlight some sources, because people ask me what is a good resource if you wanted to know about data science. So the good part about the world right now is there are so many courses that are online where you don't even have to pay. Like you can, if you don't really want like a certificate but just want to learn the course, you can do Coursera and Udemy or Udacity, where it's free of charge, many of the courses. So I would really encourage people, if they want to really kind of even explore, try one of the courses and just see what it's about, is if you're interested in something. And it was somewhere in AstraZeneca, I think, where one of our leaders said that by 2025, they would make it a requirement that most of the biologists, they have to know programming. So it's almost like, going to be as much as a requirement in your job. So just to keep update with that, people should perhaps be learning programming. And that brings me to the end of my talk. Was I too fast? Have I ended too early? I don't know.
No, ma'am, it was just fine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for not only sharing your journey with us, but also opening our eyes to the world of data science. It would be really, I mean, it is going to be really helpful for a lot of us. I would now like to invite Dr. Vailina Bora, ma'am, to please moderate the question and answer session. We have a lot of questions on YouTube and on Google Meet.
Hi, thank you for this enlightening talk. Um, Most of us, whenever we go into research, something I always find lacking is the correct methodology, right? So we are not taught from the very beginning how to go about collecting the data which is going to enrich our research. And I think this time in college we have an optional paper which is on research methodology, but not many students opted for it because people are not aware how is it going to be helpful later on. Your talk had been a window which I'm sure many students will be able to benefit from. So we have a lot of questions. The first question comes from Anupriya Kajal and Kuheli. Anupriya Kajal and Kuheli. They're asking, is it possible to self-learn data science through online media or tools? And how can students start early and maybe try to incorporate their subject knowledge to the learning? So is it possible to learn it online?
So absolutely, I forgot the names of people who asked that question. So when I look back at my masters, why I did my masters was because I wanted a stamp of a master's degree, like for my next job. And that time it was starting early, also not there were so many courses. Right now there are a plethora of online courses which are taught by, if they were teaching like face to face, I mean, I don't know how many students can get even into Stanford data science, but Coursera brings those teachers online, and all you have to do is, I mean, you can do it free. You don't get a certificate at the end of it. So I would say, I mean, if I was giving an advice to my younger self, first actually do it online just to see whether you like it or not. What a degree, joining a degree does is pushes you, like, if I have to do a test, I have to learn about it. When you are on your own, the only negative part of it is you get a little bit of slack, because there is not a pressure of performing somewhere. You are like your own pressure. So if you are not that motivated, perhaps you are like, okay, I have to cook today, I have to do this, I have my other job, like, let me just postpone. Nobody's coming and asking me a question of, okay, why I did not complete this assignment, because I'm not answerable. So if you make it like a buddy system, let's say two friends get together and decide we both are going to be answerable to each other, and we both will take up the same course. You ask some questions one day, we'll form a study group. And if they both join that online course, I think if you make somebody to whom you're answerable, it can totally be done online.
Thank you. I think during the lockdown period, lots of universities had opened up their free online courses, like different fields. I think this probably will be one of those as well.
In fact, MIT has opened up free online courses. I mean, leave alone that's one of the best institutes in the world. And you can be taught by the best teachers. So I think nowadays, if you have the will to learn something, not being in that place physically, or like saying I am in this different job, it's an excuse you're just making.
True. Actually, I did a course from Yale on philosophy, and they do a test also, and they give a certificate as well, and you don't have to pay anything. So you should, I think students should take advantage of these kind of opportunities.
So education is becoming much more decentralized, I feel. It's no longer that MIT students will just be, students inside MIT will be taught by their teachers. The teachers are free to teach whoever is willing to learn. So you just have to have that will to learn.
True. Devanshi is asking, is data science responsible at large for breach of privacy that is happening? She wants to know, how do we how does data science tackle the issue of privacy? Recently, I think we have had a film called the social dilemma, right? So that talks about a lot of breach of privacy. So how does it
Yes.
help?
Okay, so let me kind of dive back, and I've seen that movie myself, so I know the context. So think of Facebook and WhatsApp and Twitter, right? We are doing all our correspondences. In fact, nowadays we have an Alexa and all, and I feel if I had a conversation next day, I'll start seeing ads, as that movie showed on that. Now, I don't know how much it is true, but I do feel it is also true. So all these companies, they are capturing data about us. So every time, let's say I make an Amazon order, I have a profile which perhaps is being maintained in an Amazon database saying this person, because at the end of it, I'm a customer for Amazon, and they would want me to buy more and more from Amazon or for some other space, right? Netflix would want that I'm always hooked onto Netflix. So they would want me to see similar kind of movies that I like. So anyways, what they are doing is they are capturing data about me as a customer from all sources that I correspond with posts, with social media posts I like. So if I post on Facebook tomorrow that, about political views, so they make a social profile about me that this person, let's say, is affiliated with this party. People of this party support, let's say something so from the next day I will start getting, let's say, change petitions because you are affiliated with this party. Let's see if you support that change. So they all at the end are wanting to sell things. So now where data science comes in, data science is like a field, right? So this breach is not happening because of data science. It's more happening because there are these companies who are collecting our information and then using it to channelize their own benefits because they want to make profit out of it. When they let's say tell a customer base that, hey, this person might buy curtains because she bought curtain rods, they are trying to sell you information and get money from that curtain company, right? So that's the dynamics that play. And yes, predictions plays an important role, because the prediction that this person is a candidate for buying curtain is a data science thing, but that doesn't malign the field, right? In data science, it's like saying that English people are doing plagiarism because they study English literature. That's not true. English literature is literature by itself. How you use it, whether you use it to write a novel or you use it for plagiarizing something, is totally different. You are using English as a language. Same way, data science, you are using it as a tool, whether you use it to make predictions about customer by breaching trust, or you are using to help predict who will get cancer or who will stay in a hospital for what length of time. It just depends on the use.
Thank you. Actually, yeah, there is always a positive and negative to it. We have always talked about whether science itself is a boon or a bane, right? So for data science also, it will be the same thing. So this question is from Ishita. She's asking, Indian students have this notion to get into a reputed firm just after completing the undergraduation degree. As you stated in your talk, that joining a startup gives you the area to explore. What advice would you give to our students who have been nudged into that mentality to get into a reputed firm?
So see, mentality is at the end of what you want. Like, if tomorrow a student graduates and gets an offer from Google, yeah, why not? Go for Google. All I'm saying is, in my case, whether when I made a shift from Stanford to Epiphany Biosciences, which was a startup, I got to work on clinical trials. I got to develop a diagnostic test. And when I was working on clinical trials, I thought, okay, maybe I should do regulatory. And I was dealing with so much data, and that also perhaps paved the way somewhere for my data science career. It just gave me the opportunity to explore a lot. That's what I feel the startup gives us. Whether it's good for you or not is a choice you need to make.
The next question is also a little related to it. This is from Sangeeta, and she is asking, is pursuing masters in data sciences a viable option for a good career in India in the coming years?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, whatever, like whether you want to do masters in data science or just learn by yourself, just learning programming, I feel data science is going to be the what kind of drives the world, because at the end of it, nowadays everything is becoming automated, right? So all that we are doing nowadays is collecting more and more information. But what do we do with so much information? Why are we collecting that? To make sense out of it, right? So to make that sense, you have to understand that, okay, in healthcare, this is what makes sense. If I'm a lawyer and I become a data scientist and I start, my genre is to predict that, okay, these rules make sense if the case looks like this. That's my premise. So is masters, yeah, of course, definitely, that's what I did in my career. But it's not like masters can only teach you. You can self teach yourself by doing these online courses.
True. Thank you. There is a question from Achal Kishore. She's saying that you have achieved a lot, and she is talking about your accolades, and she's asking whether you faced any hurdles in your career because of your gender, because you are a woman. Did you face any problem in pursuing the career?
Absolutely not. I think I am with Padam ma'am totally on that. I mean, obviously, women face a lot of hardships that way, and that was what, and I agree with that. But in my case, I was lucky, and also I just kind of want to reiterate what we as women are also sometimes lucky. Like, I took a break when I was a mom. I don't know how many dads would have that privilege if they wanted to just sit back at home and just take care of their child. They could not, because dad has that responsibility. I mean, whether from society or from that, just because of that they have to be the bread earner of the family no matter what. But the woman has that privilege that, okay, I have become a mom, let me take this year as relaxing. So I have never ever faced a gender bias in anything, I would say.
Thank you. I think in keeping women in the back seat, or also the way that the patriarchal society's structure works, how they expect something from the man from the very beginning and expect something else for women, I think we have to use it to our advantage, right? So that we can make these choices for ourselves. I think
No,
we.
I kind of wanted to say what Joshi ma'am also said. Like, at the end, the most deserving person deserves it. Like, I don't believe in kind of a reservation, because you are taking away from a person. Like, a person could be a higher caste and could also be deserving at the same time. I'm just saying, like, I understand. So where we should make way is at the education, the basic education level. There we give opportunity to people who have, like, I think there was a couple of, I've heard where if you have a girl child, you are given the girl child is given free education, let's say, till schooling. So that sets you up as an incentive. But I don't personally believe, it might be different, that when she goes for doing a job, then there should be that reservation where this job is reserved for women. I feel at that stage you should not, but you want to encourage her to get that education, totally. Like, create that the privilege over there.
Thank you. I don't think we have any more questions. We can proceed with
There are a lot of more questions which have come up.
Oh, all right.
So there are a lot of questions. Just check the group.
All
Raman
right.
has on YouTube. Dr. Vaishali, if you have some time, can we take some more questions of students?
Oh yes, that's why I earned it so early, because I know that this would be a question answer in undated session.
I have already asked the questions that Raman has posted.
Okay. Because I was seeing students from botany, they were asking that if they do MSc Biotech, and after that, if they want to take up data science, and what is the combination you would suggest for science students? One student has asked.
Yeah. So she's
so
from
see,
botany.
when we were growing up, there was no option such as data science, right? And so nowadays, it first of all, students are, I feel, much more clearer on their career path, what they want to do. If they finally decide that they want to do data science, why do biotech, I would say? Like, why push to first do biotech and then do start with data science? You already have the bio background from your undergrad. And if you want to take it up, like, later, keep reading about bio, but first do data science and then decide what you want to do. That would be kind of, in my course, I did not decide I wanted to be data science. It's like life took a course that way that I ended up, it was a new field coming up. I didn't even know the term when I was kind of in my undergrad or master days.
Okay, this is also a similar question. Shivangi is asking, how difficult will it be for someone from biology background to switch fields and acquire a maths incentive skill?
So what I want people to take away from today's talk that I gave is, if I can do it, I feel that anybody can do it too. Like, I was never like I have to do computer science. I was like, 10 feet away from doing any kind of programming kind. But when I started doing the course, I also developed an interest. So we biologists, I feel, are just scared to begin with of programming. Like, as soon as you hear there is programming involved, you will kind of shift away from that space. So I guess first of all is to kind of get rid of that fear that programming is not like a homework kind of a thing. It has become so much more easier with the newer languages that have developed, like Python and all, that it is more logical in sense. If you feel as a person of science, you understand logic, I believe that you can do programming. And how difficult? Yes, it is difficult, because if you are not, let's say, trained, like, if my undergrad was in computer science, I might have picked up far easier programming. When I did to join my master's program, I had never learned any language before. Like, Python was the first language that I started with, and then R also a little bit, but I'm stuck with, like, I like Python and that's what I program in. But yeah, I mean, I just said, if I can start at that late in my career and kind of develop my entire career on it, it is difficult, but it is certainly possible.
So this question we asked other speakers as well. Did the pandemic affect your work?
Not at all. It became so much more easier. I mean, yeah, we all shifted virtually, as most has happened. But at least for my job, I need to travel like 1.5 hours or 2 hours every day, right? And that commute stopped. So actually, we all became more productive, so much more productive that our company said, take a mandatory shutdown in the winter break. Nobody's supposed to work because you all have worked so hard. So yeah, I mean, I would say I kind of enjoy this work, and I am not sure what we will do when we go back. Like, there's a huge protest among the employees if we really have to go back to work every day. Maybe a hybrid model is something that will work. And also, the good part of shifting career is all my friends who are scientists need to go to lab every day, like in this pandemic situation, because of the nature of the work. I mean, my work, or people who are working, allowed me the privilege to work from laptop as much as I was when I was in office. In fact, more productive, as I said, because I was saving on the commute time. I could just grab a coffee at 7:30 a.m. and start working, or take a break if there is no meetings. Like, there is no pressure to be at that time all the time. You can kind of judge according to your work schedule.
All right, I don't think now we have any more questions. So today is the last day of the webinar. I think there will be a summing up of this entire event. And we are really thankful for you to have delivered such wonderful talk. And yeah, I would like to ask Bhavya and Devanshi to take over the program. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary and Dr. Boda. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Vijay Lakshmi K. Gupta, ma'am, to share her views on this international webinar series organized for the span of 3 days. Thank you, Anshrita. Dr. Vijayalakshmi K. Gupta has an immensely rich experience of more than 36 years in the area of public administration and public finance. She has served in important positions such as that of Secretary Defense Finance to the Government of India, Member Telecom Commission and ex officio Secretary to the Government of India, Additional Secretary Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India, Principal Advisor Financial Advisor Organizing Committee, Commonwealth Games 2010, and in Ordnance Factory Board, to cite a few. She has also served as the member of Telecom Regulatory Authority of India in her recently completed assignment. She holds a PhD on human rights of women in the backdrop of institutional guarantees vis-a-vis implementing mechanisms and has multiple publications of high impact to her credit. She has been associated as a visiting faculty in many reputed institutions for the last 30 years, such as the IIM's, the National Academy of Defense Financial Management, Pune, and the Defense Accounts Department Center for Training and Development, Delhi. She has been bestowed with many national and international awards and accolades. We are honored to have you with us, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. Right at the outset, I must thank Anita and the principal ma'am for having me again and again, because I must say that I'm a usual and frequent visitor or special guest or whatever speaker to your college and especially the women's cell. So Anita, thanks once again for giving me this opportunity. And I must tell all of you, because you see, I don't want to call anyone ma'am, as Vaishali has already said, because I must claim that I'm the oldest among all of you. I completed my 68 years just, few days back. So I'm not intending to call any of you ma'am, but I must tell you that the speakers, especially Anu, Santwana and Vaishali today, it's been so encouraging and it's been so elevating to me, because I do belong to the earlier generation. I agree with Dr. Joshi and Dr. Mudgal that yes, we do have choices to exercise, and we must empower everyone, or we must attempt to empower everyone. Absolutely, I have no doubt about it. But having been in the field of public administration and having worked in the Ministry of Women and Child Development, we know, there are barriers to women. See, 50% of the world population, even today, and India, you can say, is consisting of women and girl children. Now, it's nice to have, many of us have had the opportunities of coming out, not facing barriers. Many of us have had our own challenges, faced many barriers, faced, what shall I say, to use the correct expression, sexism among the people. But still, the world outside is so different, I must tell you. It's nice. See, among the scientists itself, if you see the field of what they call as science, technology, what is it that how many of the women are really able to come out? Yeah, I do agree that the Europe of Rosalind Franklin is no longer there. But even if you take the Nobel prizes, you will find that Peace Prize and Literature Prize are given more to women than in science or medical science or in chemistry. It's not that we don't have fantastic women in the science field or any other field, but somehow, somewhere there is a feeling that, yeah, because my daughter sent me the other day when I was telling her that Anita is asking me to be a special guest in this Women in Science. And I read a bit about this in the Wikipedia also, and I find that there are fields of studies about women in science. And I did read, a few women's statements in which I read that one professor is telling a father, your girl is really too good for physics, as if physics is something which girls are not expected. And it is something like 2019 post. So it's not as if, the world outside is a mixed bag. And I must tell you that we have our Prime Minister even today in India trying to say Beti Bachao, then Beti Padhao. So in the world outside, we have a lot to do. And I'm very sure that, seminars, speeches, role models like all of you will be able to encourage many girls and many women, because I'm sure you have a huge audience today itself. And the journeys which I have listened to in the last 3 days have been absolutely elevating to me. And I must tell you that when it comes to technology, I have had my own journeys. So I joined a service called Defense Accounts. And I must tell you that when I appeared for the civil services, my father, because he belonged to the earlier generation than what I did, he said, please select all the services where there is no public dealings. Because as a woman, you should not have public dealings. I came from a very orthodox South Indian family, and therefore I said no to custom excise, no to income tax, no to police departments. But I said yes to all the account services. Railway accounts, yes, you might get a few passes after retirement. Defense accounts, yes, you might get some canteen stuff. So this was the reason why I chose only the services of accounts. I mean, you can imagine me joining the account service with an MA in political science, and bookkeeping on the left side and the right side was quite tough for me to handle. Like, some other equations which some people find it difficult to handle. But I managed. But I must tell you that the journey was not very easy. When I joined telecom, for example, at that time I had to really understand what spectrum is, how to really, what exactly is the communication. When I was in the Indian Air Force, I was a financial advisor for Indian Air Force at the Joint Secretary level. And Indian Air Force, for example, is a highly technology-oriented service. One has to learn about avionics. One has to learn about what is aerodynamics. Why does, what is a lift? What is a thrust in an aircraft? So it is a tough journey, but yes, I mean, all of us do a bit more work. That is what I believe. Yes, we have choices. We can take off. We have other, avenues to express ourselves. We can indulge in our passions. All that is true. But when it comes to a professional field, at least my own journey has been that you have to keep running in the place so that you are still in the race. If you don't run in that place, I think unfortunately we'll be out. Because I remember my own husband telling me when I took over as joint secretary in the Air Force, or for example, I worked in the Ordnance Factory Board where you have to know chemicals. You have to know the chemistry as to why a thing explodes. What is an incinerator compound? You have to understand what is the dynamics which get inside the barrel of a gun so that, the bullet is actually out. How does it really expel itself out, and what is the force of physics which it does? Unless you work hard to understand that, I think you really don't, instill confidence not only in your, the people with whom you deal, but also with the people who would look towards you as a role model. So I think everyone's journey is different. I wish that all journeys of all women at least become more easy because of, people like the speakers, Anita, the Women's Development Cell, the work which your college is doing very well. I hope that we are able to really reach. And I'm sure from the last generation, which was mine, to this generation, there is a lot of improvement. And I would like to end this in a lot of, in positive note, and hope that, yes, we will work hard and I think we shall overcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. I completely agree on the point that we have learned so much through this series. There have been, it is such a experience. On behalf of all the students, I really want to say that we know that there's no limit to learning, and there are so many spheres that we could learn in. So, nextly, I would like to call upon Dr. Padma Shri Mudgal, ma'am, to kindly share her views on today's session.
Thank you, Devanshi. At the onset, I would really like to congratulate the WDC, Anita, and her whole team for organizing this international seminar. I think it has been a really thought-provoking, inspiring, and really a learning experience to get together such, achievers who have paved their own path, have taken challenges head on, or, taken a turn around the challenges and started a new journey like Vaishali, and how they have become, make a mark in the global scene. So what better role models, or what better examples they have set for the young students here for college. And if they can do it, I'm sure the young students must be feeling that they can also achieve what they have achieved. And really, I should thank Vaishali for giving her life advice and career advices. I think it will be really helpful for the students. And how, it's really amazing that today I came to know that how data science is really impacting our lives. I Google zebrafish, or I Google my son is in Halifax, I Google Halifax. So I start getting all news about Halifax. I all start getting all latest what is coming in zebrafish. I don't have to ask for it, I get it. So I think this is how data science is impacting our lives. And maybe in a few years, maybe we will have a data science course in a college. I think I would request principal, if there's such course introduced, even we teachers should, get into it and make the most benefit of it. I really should congratulate, would like to commend and congratulate Bhavya and Devanshi, how beautifully they have conducted the 3 sessions. Despite not being from science, I don't know what department they are from, because they were not introduced. I think, Arita, you should introduce them and congratulate them for a wonderful job they have done in conducting the 3 sessions. And it was really, I really enjoyed all the 3 days, especially, what's more inspiring is that all the 3 speakers, though they have made their mark on the global scene, they have, started their journeys in India, in Indian universities, and 2 of them from our own college, from our own department. So what better inspiration? I think it was really a rewarding experience. And congratulate again, and thank you for, and I really, thank myself for being a part of the process. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, just to add, we did introduce the union with their pictures and with their departments on the
Maybe
very
I
first.
missed it. Maybe I missed it. I was here. I missed it.
We did it on the very first day, and today in the last also, Devanshi today told me that, ma'am, should we remove our feedback? I said, no, no, students are most important. You are the most important part of journey. So the beginning to end, we need students.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, we did introduce it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would now like to request Dr. Preeti Malhotra, Associate Professor, Chemistry Department of Daulatram College, to give her critical analysis on today's session. Preeti, ma'am, over to you.
Mike, Anita, Mike.
Preeti, ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I'm so fortunate and I'm really indebted to Anita to have invited me over to be one of the critics to a session which was so motivational, so inspirational. I don't have words to actually congratulate you, to appreciate you. See, today's pedagogy of learning teaching is totally incomplete till there is some inspiration in between given to the students. If any of you have ever studied from me, I, in my classes also, especially in the beginning of the session, I always tell my students, whatever course you have chosen is always consider that it is the best and it's going to take you to new heights. And always be proud of what you are doing. Unless that feeling comes, unless this kind of cognitive intervention is there, there is inspiration, there is encouragement, no learning can be complete. This is my view. So the 3 days were really inspirational, and I feel, Anita, you've done a wonderful job. You've collected it. Sorry, everybody brought us, on one platform, and the learning was immense, I would say. So I congratulate you all the stakeholders, all the people who have really worked hard behind the scenes also. Few of them, I know that they have really worked hard. And thank you again for calling me over for a few words. Thanks again. And I also congratulate our principal ma'am to have motivated, to have always encouraged us to hold such meetings and to always go ahead with such a platform. So without her, I know it wouldn't have been possible this way. So I also congratulate her and I wish her more success in life, especially on the platform of Daulatram College. As we are growing along with her, she's also growing. So we should be proud of having her as our principal who's taking Dollar Trump to new heights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Absolutely continuing Dr. Preeti's concluding remarks, I would like to now call upon Principal Ma'am to kindly deliver her thoughts. Thank you.
Sorry, it was a concluding day, but then I have to rely on your recordings because I could not join Vaishali's talk, and your inputs, obviously from others, are. It was a great session even today. So this is a unfortunate that I have missed it. It was completely my loss. And it is WDC has done this not only now, they have been doing it through different talks, seminars in the past years also, to motivate the young girls, and their main aim is to instill confidence in them so that you move forward with a very confident step. That is the first step towards any achievement, if you want to. Now, there are variety of things to do under the aegis of WDC, and I'm very happy that Anita has taken this opportunity during pandemic 19, when all of us are inside our homes and little bit of openings are there, that students at home are able to connect, join, and get motivated through such people who are some of us are even proud of the fact that they are our alumni also, and they are being connected throughout the world. And I am sure this never happened even in the offline mode of teaching. So in the pandemic, this is a silver lining that we have got an alternate way of interaction, and which is quite healthy, quite positive, and you can be connected without wasting time, without investing anything. And those who wanted to connect to us, they had limitation that they could not, spend time in commuting to such distance and coming to the campus and interacting. Though physical interaction would have been wonderful, but offline also, when online also, when we are meeting and talking and are able to listen to their experiences, we can relate to ourselves. And I am 100% sure all the girls today who have joined this session, they must be feeling quite motivated, and they must now be equipped with the fact that how we are going to take on these challenges. They are going to come. I hope you have understood that if you are facing some kind of challenge because of being a girl, it is not unique to you. Those who have reached in the at the positions where they are today, they have all passed through this stage. Some of them have struggled more, some of them have struggled less, but every story has got its own this thing. Yesterday we saw. Today, it was like the day was for the data scientist, and I hope all of you, this data science is not a very new science. We have been using it already, but now it is quite professional. It is now being used in every area to collect the data, analyze it, and then on that we develop a module to improve it further. So there is a dedicated set of strategy people plan for all in all the areas. So data science is there not only in the health sciences, not only in the physical sciences, aeronautical sciences, but also everywhere. Now, this particular scientist was our mothers in the home. They used to be data scientists. If you can think very carefully, you go back, think how at 6 o'clock in the morning she will know who is to go where and how to then put the assembly line. How one is to be, action will lead to the second and the third, and everything is in the order at home. So it is just whatever are the facts, their interpretation and their logical, building up to derive a thing which can be, executed in a very positive way. So it was a really nice 3-day session that you had opened up for the girls of the college, and I'm really indebted to the WDC, especially Anita, who took so much of pains. And both these girls, I can see the difference in Devanshi and the other Bhavya. Devanshi and Bhavya, they are having a different kind of smile today. There is a difference on the 6th morning and the 8th evening now. So same, I hope all of you must have gained, and you have gained, and also we have learned. So this was a very informative session, and it is, it is not that as Dr. Preeti was saying, that I have been encouraging. Not only I encourage, every principal encourages such an exercise. But the thing is, who takes it properly, who executes it is very important. So it is good that this particular WDC team has got together, and under the leadership of Anita, they have done this. And I can see all the senior faculty members joining. Preeti is quite senior. I can see Padmashri, brilliantly smiling after those talks. So, we are also proud of the fact that a very useful exercise is being conducted, though we are on the online mode of teaching and learning. So congratulations to entire WDC, and also to both these girls. And I think you can have a picture of all the girls who have joined us, and many more on the YouTube. And hope all these speakers who are connected to us remotely, they will come to India and will visit us one day. And I'm also thankful to Mrs. Vijay Lakshmi Gupta, who has been in the campus a few years back, and your motivational words were really quite encouraging. And I feel we are more connected than we were ever. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you to all the speakers who took out time from their busy schedule and delivered the lectures. And also we congratulate the WDC for conducting such an useful session. So thank you so much, all of you. And we would like to have the recording of it, so that later on I can listen. At least today's event I missed. So that was purely my loss. And I know data science, we are having another talk on data science that would be conducted by physics department, and that would be for the physical sciences area. So very soon you will see those posters, and all of you can join there also when in case you have got some questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. WDC DRC takes immense pleasure in extending our gratitude and regard to our guest of honor, Principal Ma'am, the dignitaries, our speaker, and all the faculty members for joining us today. Now, I would like to request Dr. Kamna Vimal Ma'am and Dr. Santosh Sen Ma'am to kindly present our token of appreciation to Dr. Chaudhary. Thank you, ma'am. Now I would request Kamna ma'am and Santosh ma'am to kindly present the token of appreciation to Dr. Gupta.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would request ma'am to kindly present the token of appreciation to Dr. Mudgal.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And lastly, I would like to request ma'ams to kindly present a token of appreciation to Dr. Malhotra. Thank you, ma'am. Now we would request Dr. Kusum Lata ma'am to present our token of appreciation and gratitude to our convener, Dr. Anita Garg Mangla ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your constant guidance and for everything that has made this webinar series possible.
You mentioned scoldings and late night mock run till 1 a.m. I'm okay with it. Because I'm sure they will complain that we had 13 mocks from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. many times. But you see the result now. I'm sure you would know why it was that.
Yes, ma'am. It's a very satisfying feeling to finally have been able to pull it off with all the practice and everything in place.
So I just wanted to add that when Anita takes on something, she delivers. Like, if whether by danda or by love, whatever it is, she delivers.
And ma'am, we are also trying to instill the very same qualities within us and trying to learn the same thing, that we have to do it at all costs. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
At the culmination of this 3-day event, the WTC union members are filled with pride, and we would like to share our journeys of working with the cell with you all.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Devanshi Vats, President of Women's Development Cell, Daulat College. I'm pursuing philosophy honors and I am in my 3rd year. My journey in WDC began in my first year itself when I attended several sessions and volunteered for few. I've always admired the work that WDC was doing for our college, be it hosting national conferences, seminars, workshops, and so much more. In my 2nd year, I was selected as the General Secretary of the cell, and we were able to initiate several campaigns like breast cancer awareness campaign and menstrual hygiene campaign, which received an overwhelming response not only from the students of our college, but also from other Delhi University colleges. I'm thrilled to share with you all that currently we are a team of 90 volunteers and 4 departments that work day in and day out. Even when the pandemic has hit us all, we were able to conduct several number of sessions and webinars that have helped so many women out there. We strive to achieve better. WDC is a platform where everyone can share and discuss about the topics that concern us all. And all of this wouldn't have been possible without the unrelenting and unwavering support that we receive from our principal, Dr. Savita Roy, our vice principal, Dr. Sarita Nanda, our convener, Dr. Anita Garg Mangla ma'am. Thank you so much for being there and for guiding us throughout. Good afternoon to
Good afternoon. My name is Bhavya Pandey, and I'm the Vice President of the Women's Development Cell of Daulat College. I'm pursuing economics and I'm in my 2nd year. I've been associated with the WDC since my very first semester when I joined as the General Secretary. My journey with the WDC has been extremely enriching. I have had the opportunity of interacting with women who are stalwarts and pioneers in their respective fields. I have also been able to contribute to the cell in my small capabilities and faculties. And most importantly, I have been able to learn something from every individual associated with the WDC. I'm extremely thankful for the cell for providing the platform that it does to young students. And it's been an overall great experience being associated with the cell. I look forward to what it has in store for me in the future. Thank you.
I'm very glad and thankful to be part of the Women's Development Cell of Daulat College. Since the moment we joined this college, we have all been reading up about different societies and cells, trying to figure out where we would fit in the best and where the aims would match our passion. Since the moment I read about WDC and its aims and all that it has accomplished till date, I knew I had to be a part of this cell. This is one cell that provides us with an opportunity to empower others while learning ourselves along every step of this journey. Since my very first interaction with the other union members of WDC and the faculty, everybody has been very kind and helpful and encouraging. This has been a very different experience, interacting with each other through video calls and organizing online events, but enriching nonetheless. and I look forward to contributing as much as I can to this cell in the online mode and whenever we get to interact in person.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Being a part of the Women's Development Cell at Daulat Ram College is a matter of great prestige and honor, and I'm immensely grateful to the Women's Development Cell for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. Learning about WDC's aims and achievements over the years, I was determined to be a part of it, organizing this international webinar series with my respected WDC faculty members and my seniors has been a great learning experience as they have been helping and guiding us throughout. WDC at DRC rightly believes in women achieving limitless possibilities. Hence, I genuinely look forward to contribute to the cell within my capabilities and beyond for the year that follows. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to add one line that Anshita Thakur and Nishita they are from the first year and they have just joined the cell in December only, and they were the strong force to have this successful session and the whole series run. So thank you so much, both of you. And now I would like to request Dr. Anita Karmangla to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Devanshi. On behalf of Women's Development Cell, Daulat Ram College, I, Dr. Anita Garg Mangla, extend my heartfelt gratitude to the speaker of the third day, Dr. Vaishali Chaudhary, for accepting our invite to be the esteemed speaker for this international webinar series and apprising us with a very insightful and informative session. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Padmashri Mudgal for sharing her views about the talk, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi K. Gupta, guest of honor, for sparing her valuable time to grace the occasion on all the 3 days and to briefing us with the hallmarks of the webinar series. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Preeti Malhotra, Dr. Sunita Joshi, Dr. Sarita Nanda for sharing their views. And I would also like to thank ex-WDC conveners, Dr. Malini Sharma, Dr. Ritu Khanna, and Dr. Sunita Gupta for their esteemed presence and their contribution for raising WDC to the level we stand today. My initial work with WDC was under convenership of Dr. Malini Sharma, where when I was a student, I was a member 2014 to 2016. And that time I got the gist how WDC works and I thought, okay, we can do this, this, this. And at that time also Dr. Malini gave me a full free hand to do whatever I wanted to do. And then when Principal Ma'am came, she somehow had instilled some faith and trust in me that Ma'am promoted me from a faculty member to a convener. And I had a very enriching 2 year of experience where I tried to empower my students and get myself empowered. Then Ma'am gave me a role of social media champion and now I'm back to Women Development Cell. So it has been a journey for me also. And if everybody has given their best foot forward, I contacted senior faculty, Padam ma'am, I'm talking every day, Joshi ma'am, I contacted, asked her, you name a person, be it Shuchi ma'am, Preeti ma'am, anybody and everybody was there to help me, be it my junior, be it my senior, be it my student, because it's a team effort. Alone, I cannot do anything. Also, big thanks to our principal, ma'am. Words will fall short because, ma'am, it's you. That's why we are able to do. You motivate us, you support us, you guide us. We come only with a thought, you know, ma'am, I thought last night that we can do this. Ma'am will say, yes, go ahead. As far as it benefits society, it benefits students. And I went to ma'am 3 days back, ma'am, we are unable to help YouTube streaming. Ma'am immediately gave us committee room and ma'am said, okay, screening can do elsewhere. So ma'am, this promptness, this availability, this carefree availability that we can contact you anytime, 24/7 and we will get your help, makes us to achieve what we are able to. And ma'am, your faith in us is inspiring us to do more and more every new day. Special thanks to all the guests, retired faculty, present faculty members and students for making their presence on all the 3 days. And just to share some numbers, we had more than 800 registered participants. And on the first day, we already have more than 1,600 views. on our YouTube recording and more to go. I look forward to meet all of you in person very, very soon. And once again, thank you, Vaishali. You have been to the department in our faculty development program. She was a friendly speaker, and I take that liberty that whenever she's on her trip to India, and even if she's, juggling between Delhi and Kolkata, I make sure one day belongs to me. How she manages, that's her problem. But it's an unsaid thing that she has to be there. So thank you so very much. It means
And Anita, I always deliver on it, right? Whether
of course, 100%.
And I also want to say, hearing your words about Savita ma'am, like behind every great woman is she herself and also another great woman. So I can see your principal being the great woman behind all you women's success.
Absolutely. You tell me the problem.
That is too much to say. It's not that
No,
they
ma'am.
are, they are self-driven.
With basic problems, with high-end problem with Shrestha, I still do not remember that any time you turn it down. And I mean every word of it. My faculty members in WDC knows it, my students knows it, and all faculty members today also, they were coordinating with you. So ma'am, you are very, very approachable. You are ready to give time. And you are the person who is 24/7 available. So, ma'am, it makes a lot of
sense. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. And I feel good if my students are happy, if you people are satisfied. For that only I am here. I am not here for any other, I don't have any other job except to organize these things and make you people comfortable. So thank you, Anita, for those great words, which are too great. I am not.
I mean every word of it. It is coming by heart. I don't have anything written. So what I felt, and ma'am, you also know me now that I say what I mean. I'm not the type who can keep inside. Ma'am, itna aapko bhi pata hai. And now we have ex-WDC conveners with us. We have senior faculty with us. Anybody wants to say anything, bless us. Tell us where we lack so that we improve. Please, ma'am, it's a request to everybody who has joined, any and everyone who wants to say a word, a line, bless us, please feel free. Please unmute yourself and we'll be obliged to listen to you. And I would request all participants to please put their video on so that we can take some nice pictures as members.
Okay, Anita, before that, it's right now 3:10 a.m. So I will now exit.
Just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes for the picture. Okay. Last.
Ma'am, kindly allow us to take a screenshot and then.
I told you you'll have 2 night outs. Today is your last. Just 2 minutes. So please switch on the videos. Everybody, it's a personal request. Kindly switch on so that we can have a picture with all of you. Tech team, please take as many screenshots as you can. Creative team also can do that. And all WDC faculty also, please come live. Gupta ma'am, please switch on your video.
There's something wrong with my camera, I think. I'm on mobile, so it's not coming.
Okay.
You have my picture, you can take that.
Yeah, taken.
We will, ma'am, yes.
All right. Thank you, Vaishali, once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Anita. Thanks
Thank you.
Bye, Vaishali.
Bye.
Have a nice sleep. Have a nice sleep.
I know. Bye.
We would like to thank you.
Bye,
all.
Sunita. Bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you.
Bye, Dr. Joshi.
हाँ?
Bye. नहीं, मैं थैंक यू कर रही हूँ आपको. मैं क्यों बाय करूँगी?
बहुत जरूरी नहीं है. और कैसे हो सब?
बढ़िया बढ़िया.
मैम जैसे क्यों भी दिखती है आप याद आते हो.
Oh God.
कल ही हम बात कर रहे थे तुम्हारी. कल ही मैं और अनीता बात कर रहे थे.
मैं तो जब इम्यूनो लेक्चर देखती हूँ ना मैम का वो हैंड रिटन आता है AM एंड एसजे, तो मुझे उसी टाइम मैम याद आ जाती है.
Thank you so much, everyone, for gracing the event.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
for
you a lot.
just for all the students that are there, I just want to share that all the recordings will be on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to see all the recordings. And also, if there are any queries or questions or any feedback you want to give us, you can mail us on our official email address, and that is